What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 10K on the Bay, my journey to 10,000 live listings on eBay. Today I want to share something super important. I decided to forego going to eBay Open, which is probably a mistake because there's a lot of good information there, but to really talk about with my significant other what exactly to consider with the life of reselling, because I have other sources of income and I'm considering shutting them down and just focusing on eBay for a bunch of different reasons, and I'd like to go over those reasons because I think they're very important to consider before you take the leap to being a reseller, especially on eBay and Amazon, where the frontier can be changing. So the first thing to consider definitely is benefits. I think benefits are huge. A lot of people have health concerns. They want to have the best benefits. They may have a job just for the benefits. It's not uncommon for people to be at a job that they don't like just because they need the benefits for health reasons, or they have a family, and it's very important. If you're going to jump into being an entrepreneur, you're probably not going to have benefits at first while you're putting things together, and you're going to have to scale to a level high enough where it's really worth it. In fact, I don't think you should really be an entrepreneur unless you're going to aim for making $200,000 or more. That's just my personal opinion, because it's so risky becoming an entrepreneur, because every year that you're away from the workforce, you become less and less hireable. So I've considered that, because right now I could definitely get a great sales job. I could make six figures. I could go home at 6 o'clock. It would be more like an 8 to 6 or 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. type of job where I'm working a lot, but it would be very, very high income. I'd have vacation paid for. I'd have benefits. That's one thing to consider. Yes, is a job secure? Not so much, but I tend to pick jobs that are performance-based. So like as long as I'm performing, there's usually no reason to get rid of me. That's just my decision, and it's interesting because I live in Silicon Valley where people pay a lot of money for salespeople. So I'm foregoing that by being an entrepreneur because of some of the other reasons that I'm going to go into, but it's something for you guys to consider when you look at how much time you're actually putting into your business. You might be making less than you think. So far, at least for me, selling clothing and hard goods and random things, I factor in returns, all that stuff, it's like 28 bucks an hour on my own. Now I have the ability to hire people for less than $28 an hour to, obviously scale, increase different thoughts. And of course, you can make more than $28 an hour if all you're doing is reselling. But for me, the reselling is also spilled into, watching YouTube at night, watching different Bolo or what to buy videos, and I'm also doing accounting. I'm doing a lot of different things during the day. If I add all of that up, I'm really only making 28 bucks an hour. Now here's the thing, I guess over time, since I'll have a niche and I know what I'm selling, my hourly is going to go up because I'm going to be spending less time researching, less time on that kind of stuff, and more time just sourcing and selling, right? Or I might just be managing a group of people who do that. So the hourly can go up. The hourly is actually not limited. You can make as much money as you want on eBay. It just depends on your scale. Right? There are people who make 8 figures on eBay. So it just depends on what you want to do. But I think it's really important to consider that the longer you're away from a regular job, the less hireable you are, because what's this huge gap when you weren't employed by somebody? Employers don't like to see that. Okay, the next thing is income. So a lot of people need a certain income amount. So if you're looking to, in my Patreon group and through a lot of people who have messaged me, people want to make at least $1,000 a week. So in order to make $1,000 a week, do you realistically have enough capital to buy the stuff that you need to do that? That's something I was considering with my significant other. If we decide to build a life together as resellers, do we have enough capital to get enough stuff online that we have a predictable income? As a very, 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 conservative number, if you were to have $100,000 worth of stuff listed and you had a 10% sell-through rate, then you'd be selling $10,000 worth of that stuff each month. That's a really slow sell-through rate, but we're just going super conservative here. On that $10,000, if you have a 1/3 sell-through rate, that's still only $3,000 a month. It's not very much. So there's a lot of things required for you to really make a full-time income, because you've got to source good stuff, you've got to buy it for the right price, you've got to have good margins. It's all built into that. That's what the internet is for. All the information is in there, but it depends on a lot of things like location, which is one of the other things I want you guys to consider before you start. But the next thing is long term? Is what you're looking for a long-term gig? When you pick a career or an industry like, let's say, accounting, you're probably going to have a good long-term future if you decide to be an accountant, because every company needs that. Numbers is very important. How to save taxes is very important. If you get a CPA, if you get a master's in finance, all that stuff will make you more desirable. It's a good long-term decision. If I was going to pick which is more long-term, eBay or Amazon, I would say it's the same. It just depends on what part of eBay and Amazon you're looking at. The closer you get to the manufacturer level, if you were to produce your own goods, that's the most long-term thing you can do, but the most difficult thing to start, because you've got to build your brand, you got to build your own website, you're less reliant on eBay and Amazon, and you're going towards making your own goods and wares, which is fantastic, but that's something that you need to consider. Is it long-term? If you're retail arbitrage, right, and you're out there flipping the hottest goods, I also think that's permanent. There's always going to be the hottest goods. If you're just doing retail arbitrage straight up, all you're doing is looking for the hottest things and selling them for more, or getting a slight discount, or gift cards or whatever, I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think that's one of the best long-term plays ever in the online space, because there's always going to be something really hot, and the demand is always going to exceed the supply. You can make money between that margin, I think, until the end of time. That will never go away. Okay, let's look at experience. Are you just being a reseller so you can gain the experience that you may or may not get from other things? In my opinion, this is huge. If I had grown up going to thrift stores, garage sales, I would have understood the value of things way better. I had no idea. And I was fortunate to make a lot of money at some of my jobs where I didn't have to worry about, the value of things. But again, that really caught up to me. If I had known the value of things, I would have been in a totally different financial situation as right now. Thrifting and learning about how things are arbitrated online has really helped me gain the experience to be a great entrepreneur. I've actually learned the most from selling on eBay than I have in any of the other businesses that I have done so far, which is a lot to say because I've started a lot of companies, definitely had more failures than successes so far. Okay, the next thing is connection. Are you in your job because of the connection? This is something very common. There's a lot of people in my group that make significant money already. They already make six figures. They already have a house that's paid for. They have no debt. They have a huge, one person in the group has a 15-year savings runway. Like, they don't have to work for 15 years and they would be fine. Like, that's amazing to have that much of a nest egg saved up, right? But they're in it for the connection. They like actually talking to their customers. Thank you so much for finding this vintage, waffle maker. You just made my day. That's a ridiculous connection that you can't get on any other platform if you're going to decide to do eBay. I mean, how can you really find somebody across the world? I sold a cookie jar that was in the shape of a penguin to Switzerland, right? That's really cool. That went halfway across the world to somebody. And that connection is very, very cool. It's real. This is why people blog. This is why people vlog, because they enjoy it. They get the connection with the people. And that's just a really powerful thing. The next thing is passion. Are you doing the job because you're passionate? For me, I like selling things. I think you guys can tell that I'm very passionate about finding unique treasures around the world and repurposing them, reusing them. A lot of this stuff would end up at the landfill again if it wasn't found and given to a new owner. So I'm actually passionate about selling things. And some people do things that they're passionate about and they don't make any money, and it's okay. Now, that's not to say that you can't do both. A lot of people get paid to do what they love. That's hard. But if doing what you love involves providing value for other people, you're going to be the most safe. The next thing is location. Depending on where you live, if your job market's super hot like where I live, I'm taking a much bigger risk by doing eBay, Amazon, because here the market is super hot. There's endless amount of jobs. The real estate market is exploding because of the amount of people. Well, it's not really exploding. It's sort of leveled off at this point. But from 2008 till now, it's quadrupled. Everyone who owns a piece of property in California is basically a 1%er on Earth. That sounds insane. But to be in the top 1% of net worth on our Earth, you have to have a net worth of 900,000, and the average home in California is like in that range. So you're talking about every person who owns a piece of property in California is in the top 1% on Earth. Now, if you live in the middle of nowhere, right, and there's also nothing to source around you, but your cost of goods is only $1,000. I know a lot of people. Cost of living is only $1,000 because the land's really cheap or whatever. A lot of those people are killing it because they can drive around to different states, source, or they can order online and it comes to them, and their runway is a lot longer because they live in a place where the cost of living is so low. And I think that's phenomenal. If you were living in a place that's cheap, right now with the invention of online business, you can have the goods come to you. This is why one of the most popular questions I get is, how do I do wholesale? How can I start building these relationships with people so that I can order from them? And that's been great. The people who are putting in the time to meet wholesalers, which takes time, and getting to know them. And like, this is why I said you want to find a wholesaler that you feel comfortable bringing home to mom, meaning your wholesaler doesn't get around and sell to everyone, because that's not the relationship you're looking for. That's why I said the closer you are to the manufacturer level, or you even being the manufacturer, is the most long-term relationship that you can create, because you're close to the source and you can sort of control your own destiny. You can even sell your local wares at the local market. If you had a flea market or a garage sale, and cut out any type of platform. You can just sell directly to your customer if you want to. That's why it's the most long-term. Okay, the next thing is supplemental. And I'll tell you that my eBay store grew really fast when it was just supplemental income, meaning I did not need the extra money, so the money kept rolling into it and it grew. A lot of people look at eBay like an investment strategy. They just get in there, they start selling things, leave the money in, it keeps rolling into each other. It's going to grow significantly faster than any stock market investment, but it's a lot of work, right? So you put in something, are you going to make more than the market of 9% a year? Absolutely. Unless you're making really bad buys, you're going to out-earn the stock market. But the stock market is just a click of a button versus having to find something, prep it, list it, ship it. Totally different. And then finally, the last one is companionship, which I think is really interesting. By the way, this list is from Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David. I put the link in the description. Take a look at his channel. I like it a lot. He claims to be the best channel for entrepreneurs on YouTube. I tend to agree with him. His stuff is amazing. His channel is geared for entrepreneurs, and this is one of the most useful videos that I have seen, because it actually lays out, what are you putting on the line by becoming an entrepreneur? What are you risking? I wish someone had given me this list before I became an entrepreneur 10 years ago. So it's all about understanding the cost versus benefits thing. And this companionship thing is very, very interesting. There's another channel with Rally Roots, which I think is unbelievable. This is a husband and wife couple that work together, and they're building something together, and they have a wonderful relationship. And I really want to model something like them, because they do, in my opinion, an amazing job of providing value to the world, right? So they're not like, this is interesting. Like, they're not going to lose sleep at night because of the way they made money. They made money the right way, which is providing value to somebody and finding something that somebody wants and delivering it to them at a fair price. And if you did not do that, you wouldn't be in business for a long time. If you're ripping people off, you'd be out of business. If you're buying stuff that people don't want, you'll be out of business. And Patrick Bet-David talks about this thing where divorce rates are much higher now than they used to be. And people are just getting married super quick, and they're not really building anything together. Versus back in the day, the divorce rates were much lower. Like, even in my parents' generation, divorce is less than now. And it's sort of because they had to build something together, work on something together. And a lot of husband and wife entrepreneurs seem to be doing just fine. So I think it just depends on if you're able to split the roles and do something that matches, or maybe you just, the brainstorming of building a baby together is interesting enough to keep your relationship going. And I think that that companionship is something that is difficult to find in the reselling niche. That's why my Patreon is so successful, to be honest, because people need relationships, and I am facilitating that for them. If you're looking for someone to talk to every single week, I can create that for you. You can join my group where you can talk to different people. That's why these Facebook groups are so big. That companionship is great. It's better in person. You guys know I like to source with another person, and when I'm shipping and when I'm listing, oftentimes I'm listening to another entrepreneur online. It's kind of like companionship. It's a little bit different. Now with the invention of YouTube versus TV, I sort of feel like I know all the people that I listen to, especially Patrick Bet-David, who is awesome. And I think that it's really, really cool to look at different entrepreneurs, the way they handle things. And guys, hope this helps. Before you start an eBay business, please consider the benefits, the income, whether or not it's long-term for you. Are you doing it just to gain experience? Are you doing it because you're passionate about selling things? Does your location make it easy for you? Meaning, do you live in an area like me in California where there's lots of stuff? Or do you live somewhere where it's really cheap and you have a lot of different options for online or wholesale? Also, if you live in the middle of the country, it reduces your shipping cost because you're more centralized, which is pretty interesting. Are you doing it because you want to be supplemental income, or are you doing it for companionship with your significant other? Guys, I think this is a really important video. Please like, subscribe, and share this video, and let me know in the comments section what you guys think. Why are you an eBay reseller? Have a good one.